if you're not from the UK, you might not know what this was. I'm pretty sure they made a big deal about it here, like all the newspapers and stuff, so it's pretty topical. So, before getting into it, I want to thank you for subscribing, liking, commenting on my videos, and turning on the bell and notifications. Thank you for so many subscribers that I have right now, and yeah, soon 1,000. both girls. Because CMO matched, the Leicestershire police also detected the same blood type in semen samples collected from both of the murder scenes. So, there was clear, evidence that it was the same person who did it, but before they actually found who did it, because they only could do it because of the genetics improvements, they didn't have great forensic evidence techniques back then. They had this suspect. The initial suspect's name was Richard Buckland, and he was a 17-year-old with learning difficulties. So he was innocent at the end, and he basically, when they interrogated him, Richard told the police that he knew where Dawn Ashworth's body was, and he admitted to her murder and under questioning, and he denied the first one. So the police, basically taking it at face value, not doing anything, they arrested him, and yeah, he was the first suspect in this case. So at this time, when he was arrested wrongfully, there was a big manhunt that was going on in Leicestershire to track down, who this killer rapist person was. And the Leicestershire Constabulary, which is the police, teamed up with a Forensic Science Service (FSS) to locate this person. 6,000 was revealed was Ian Kelly was at a pub. The pub was called the Clarendon, and he was saying to his friends, he was like chatting to his friends, and he was like, the blood test wasn't Colin's, it was his, and that Colin Pitchfork had told Ian that he wanted to avoid being harassed by the police because of prior convictions he had for indecent exposure. And Ian just didn't say anything. He just thought it was okay when there was like a rapist on the loose, and this was like, if somebody was like, oh, I indecently exposed myself to people, so I don't want to give my DNA sample to the police, you would be alarmed, wouldn't you? So a woman actually overheard this conversation Ian was having with his friends and reported it to the police. So Ian didn't report it to the police even though he was faking it, and I didn't find any information to what happened to Ian, but I think he should have charged with at least something, because if he had just said that this person asked me to fake the DNA sample and I provided my blood for him, that is literally a crime. You can't do that. And his friends just was like listening to him talk about this thing. They didn't do anything. Anyway, thanks for this woman. Colin Pitchfork was basically, they went up to him and they asked for evidence, I guess. And he basically was arrested by the Leicestershire police. Can you hear the sirens right now? How fitting. So Colin Pitchfork was arrested on August 1st, 1987, and he was charged in 1988 with 2 counts of rape and murder. When he was arrested, during the questioning, he admitted to exposing himself to more than 1,000 women. And he said that this compulsion to expose himself to people started when he was in his early teens. What? He said that he strangled his victims to protect his identity, but he was brutal in his crimes, so this statement was rejected, and they said that it was just perverted sadism. That's why he strangled them. He also lied about the level and nature of violence he had inflicted on his victims, and he pleaded guilty to 2 counts of rape and murder, and he also pleaded guilty to another incident of sexual assault, and he got a life sentence. So he was also they did a psychiatric report on him, and he also had previous treatment history, so clearly something is wrong, terribly wrong. And the psychiatric report described Colin as possessing a psychopathic personality disorder and serious psychosexual pathology. And at the time of his arrest, Lord Chief Justice said that from the point of view of safety of the public, I doubt if he should ever be released. And he was given a minimum sentence of 30 years in prison. But he got a life sentence with a minimum sentence of 30 years. But then it was later appealed and he got 28 minimum years. So why am I talking about this case now? Is that this man 28 minimum, as you remember. And the UK Justice Secretary Robert Buckland asked the parole board to reconsider his release, but it was refused. A spokesman said that the parole board has immense sympathy for the families of Dawn Ashworth and Linda Mann. He recognizes the pain and anguish they have endured and continue to endure through the parole process. However, he said the parole board panels are bound by law to assess whether a prisoner is safe to release. So they basically decided that it was safe to release. And Colin Pitchfork was the first person in the world to be convicted of murder by DNA fingerprint evidence after the rape and murder of two girls, Linda and Dawn. So it was the first time that DNA fingerprint evidence was actually used to convict a person, and he was that person. So there's this whole parole hearing. So he submitted actually multiple parole reviews, which basically is like you submit a review to reduce your sentence or kind of like ease it or change it in some way. So he submitted multiple reviews in 2016, 2017 and 2018, and he was denied an early release on parole. But if we detailedly look at the timeline, in 2016 in April, Pitchfork's advocates showed evidence that he had improved his character/education. So he got a degree level education, and he basically became an expert at transcription of printed music into Braille, which is what blind people use to like read. And families of the victims of Linda and Dawn opposed to his release on parole. And he also had like a painting with like musical notes that he made. I don't know, if you look at his Wikipedia page, you will see a thing on it, which was actually sold on like this gallery, which is like a highly like esteemed gallery in London, for like £600 when he was in prison. But there was this whole controversy where people were like, how can you sell a £600 sculpture of someone who killed like children and raped children, you know? So after he was denied and the families were like, no, you're not releasing him, what are you thinking? Like, what are you talking about? He was actually recommended by the parole board to be moved to an open prison. And if you don't know what an open prison is, because I didn't, it's where prisoners are trusted to complete their sentences with minimal supervision and perimeter security. They can also take up employment, so he would basically have so much more freedom to do whatever he wanted to do. And he was actually moved at that time when he was, recommended to be moved to an open prison. It was November 2017, and he was actually seen walking around Bristol. So it's actually assumed obviously, because he's a rapist, he's a murderer. He like, from the news article, the titles, it's, even the titles are like shocking, two times that he committed rape and murder 15-year-old girls, but then they don't mention that he also was indecent to 1,000 women. He sexually assaulted another person, and who knows how many more that he didn't admit to, because if he had admitted to like 1,000 times flashing, that is so scary. A number of times I see in like local Facebook groups or whatever, you see like mothers of girls, like of young girls, or like literally women writing about their experiences of creepy like men like flashing themselves, or just being so inappropriate in public with other people, like about in daylight. It doesn't even have to be, during the dark. So I don't understand how people can just release somebody like this out into the world when we already have people that do such horrible things and they have never been convicted, But I hope he got the psychological help that he needs, because I just wish this doesn't ever happen to someone. It's horrible. Let me know what you think down below. I thought this was a good case to cover because how, recent his release from prison was. And I don't know, I just wanted to like talk. This actually like took my interest because there are lots of crimes happening, I can talk about so many things. The world is a horrible place. Let me know what you want me to cover that is more recent, as well